So I'm doing this like booty fucking workout on a couch, and I'm like, booty on a couch, 3 moves to gain your biggest butt, you know, big booty, big dreams. Ooh. Yeah. So it was shitty, but then I started expanding, right? So then I'm like, I'm going to do a video in my pig costume. And they were like, okay, now you have to do the activewear and the pre-workout and the protein powder. So protein powder, I'm like, cool, I'm going to put it in my muffins somehow. Even though it didn't taste the best, you know, I try to figure out ways around it to just put it in there. So now I'm altering my content.
Your message shifted.
Yeah. Not only my message, but my creation, my intention behind it. Now I'm not doing it.
Your art is being impacted.
My muffins are ruined.
Of all the things that you would ruin,
muffins.
Erin, don't ruin the muffins.
My muffins. It's tragic.
Oh, that's
absolutely.
Welcome to the Superhero Academy podcast. I'm your host, Archangel. Bonjour, hi, friends. Or in this holiday season, maybe we should be saying bonjour, ho. I don't know if you know that joke. It's a Quebec joke. Apparently, the politicians here are saying we shouldn't be using English. We should, instead of saying bonjour, hi, which is very customary in Montreal to say hello to people in both languages, are spoken here in Canada, because we're in Canada, ladies and gentlemen. Instead, we should be using bonjour ho. That's apparently what's going on. But the reason I'm saying this is, number one, I'm wearing a hat, and I got this hat from a friend. And the friend that's joining me here today, well, she took bringing her COVID mask very seriously. In fact, Confetti the Pig is joining me here today, also known as, well, actually, I'll tell you her real name in a second.
Bonjour, hi. I love Confetti the Pig. That is my new name.
It is a great name. I'm glad that you're taking very seriously the mask rules that we have here in Montreal.
You have to. I mean, go to every store with this on, nobody's going to complain.
Okay, so who I actually have here joining me here today?
Grand reveal.
Yeah, on Instagram, she's got followers. She's figured some stuff out. Killing It Fitness.
Yeah.
Her name, Erin Killen.
Erin Killen. Get it? Killing it?
Thanks so much for joining me. I mean, look, I mean, we're making fun of this pig here, but there's kind of like a very interesting backstory to how you how you basically grew your following on Instagram, how you have transformed in 1,001 different ways. For those who are watching this is the first time we ever actually meet. I've heard about you through, friends of friends.
I'm famous.
Yeah. When you have 27,000 followers on Instagram, you're kind of famous. That's like beyond nano influencer.
It's borderline fame. Yeah. But I mean, they can take it down at any moment. So it's kind of like scary fame.
We'll get into that.
Yes.
But tell me a little bit about who you are, what you're passionate about. I mean, just a little bit about your story, because there is something that relates to pigs.
Yes.
Which is really hilarious. So tell me that story.
Bonjour, hi. This microphone is really lit, by the way. For anybody listening to this is super cool. You need to get in on this. This is like a different reality.
It's very nice when you have the headphones on. It puts you in another zone.
Yeah. Completely different zone.
Yeah, I love it.
Moment of silence in the zone.
Ooh.
The grand pause.
Oh, wow. All right, tell me.
Bonjour, hi. My name is Erin Killen, killing it. And I am passionate about joy. I am passionate about being inspired, being awakened, being conscious, and getting past limiting beliefs, basically. And it all started with an Instagram, right?
Yeah, but you weren't passionate about that when you started your Instagram.
Oh, you want the whole story?
Well, I want to know a little bit of it, because right now you're killing it online, and you've got all this fitness stuff, and you're dancing and shuffling, and all that. You've got all kinds of very beautiful content. I'll say so myself.
Thank you.
But that wasn't always the way. Like, that wasn't always your claim to fame.
No,
so
it was not.
And you weren't always as healthy.
Definitely not.
So back me up a little bit.
Story time.
Yeah, story time.
Once upon a time, there was
a
girl who loved bacon. So my Instagram started as a bacon page.
Wow.
Believe it or not.
Were you inspired by Epic Mealtime?
Yes. Oh my God. I got tagged in all of the Facebook posts. I got tagged in the posts for bacon chapstick, all the bacon stuff. People were tagging me. I was literally called Bacon in high school. Like, what's up, Bacon? It's me. That's me.
Wow. So it was literally your nickname. Okay. So you're called Bacon in high school. People are tagging you in Epic Mealtime videos all the time, which are also from Montreal, which is hilariously funny. And then you start an Instagram page.
Yeah. So it started, I would post pictures, just funny pictures of like me drinking, me eating bacon. I would make like bacon pancakes and I'd do hashtag bacon, hashtag bacon for life. I'm pretty sure if you go all the way down, like if you have spare time in your life and you go to my first pictures.
Or bacon.
Bacon.
Well, see, it's a drastic shift from where you're at right now. Because
Yeah.
now it's like, well, I mean, this picture, this picture really shows that transformation because this is Bacon Girl right over here.
That's bacon.
Yeah. How many years ago was that?
That was prom. So we're talking 2012.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in 8 years, you went from like
Bacon.
eating constant bacon
Yeah.
every day.
Somebody served me a salad. There's no bacon on this. And I was like,
What?
what?
So you were a
What
fan of
is
Caesar
this?
salads, essentially.
Oh, yes.
Even the
Croutons
bacon
all
bits.
the way. Bacon bits. Bacon, bacon,
Bacon,
chapstick, bacon everything.
And now you're like, literally, you're like a fitness model.
Now I'm baconless.
And now you're also baconless.
You
Yeah.
can
Now
still
you're
eat
also
bacon bits, though, because they're made of soy.
That's
Are they?
They're completely vegan.
My life is now changed.
So now
Forever.
you can have the taste of bacon without the bacon. But now, no, but I mean, so now you're literally a vegan,
Yes. I've
and
been
you're basically,
plant-based.
and you're like, you work with brands that are about fitness.
Mm-hmm.
How does that happen?
It was an amazing journey. A tale old as time.
Tell me such tales.
The year was 1995. No. Where did it start? It's so interesting to reflect back on it, right? Because we're always looking ahead. So to look back is so interesting. And just having that knowledge of being like, oh yeah, I used to be bacon. I used to be that girl. And I would say the change started initially when I went to the doctor. And I was probably 15 at the time, 15, 16. And I was overweight, obviously. I mean, I ate so much bacon. And I went to the doctor and I wasn't feeling well. I was feeling unaligned. And I was convinced that there was something wrong with my blood. I was like, okay, no, it was just like a deficiency somewhere. Like maybe I'm not getting enough nutrients. Maybe my circulation isn't well. I'm going to go to the doctor and they're going to tell me like, wow, you just need to add this nutrient to your diet and you're fixed, you know? Here I am the night before, just like so excited, like, oh, the doctor's gonna heal me. They're gonna be able to tell me what's wrong with me. They're gonna be able to like fix me all up. And then I go to the doctor and she basically was like, well, you're overweight and you have anxiety.
Ooh.
So now I'm anxious and I'm fat. Like, great. Thanks, doctor.
So
Like,
you went from like high life on bacon
high life on bacon.
to anxious and fat, and now all of a sudden your worldview starts to crumble.
Now I'm in a box. Now I'm in a limited box of beliefs that I am now an anxious person and an overweight person. Not, oh, you're moving through shifts in your weight. You're moving through anxiety. You are an anxious person.
You are this thing.
You are
Label.
overweight. Label. And we know how labels go, especially at that age. You know, it becomes the biggest excuse.
Totally.
Because we don't know any better.
Well, we haven't built an identity yet. We haven't gone through a career. We're not married. We're not something. We're not mom or dad or whatever. We don't have these other labels. Your daughter, like you have that label.
Yeah.
You have maybe like another label like
Bacon.
Bacon. You beat me to it. But you also have other labels like maybe, I was a soccer player, so you have like maybe an athlete label, or you have, some people have other labels like nerd or jock or this or that. Like there's thousands of labels that we're painting upon each other constantly. But now you get this, fairly dramatic label, anxious, which you probably didn't really realize you had anxiety. Like you realized you experienced anxiety, but you didn't call it that. You just thought it was like, oh, it's a shitty day, or I feel something, but you didn't call it anxiety.
I was like, I can't breathe. Like, what's going on, you know?
You were having panic attacks,
Oh, yes.
like big time.
Big time panic attacks.
When you didn't get enough bacon.
When I didn't get enough bacon, that's it. Collapse. It was actually when I got too much bacon.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It's when my when my body would get unbalanced.
Yeah.
That's when the anxiety would come on, you know? And I remember my friend when we were in class, maybe I was probably, again, 15 at the time, and she had like a severe panic attack in class next to me. And I remember looking at her and I was like, what do I do? Like, what is happening? And then she started talking to me about her panic attacks and her anxiety. So then I automatically was like, wait, can this happen for me? And then that's when it started happening. Obviously, you see somebody else go through it, and then you shift your aim towards that, and you kind of absorb it. And then I started getting the panic attacks, and then I started to become that fear. Yeah, you're basically like a sponge, you know.
You became the identity.
Yeah.
You like adopted the identity in the same way that somebody adopts like a hero's mentality or a martyr mentality, or what, you know, which are very similar. Hero mentality, martyr mentality. But we adopt an identity and then we start living it. We start like literally becoming that thing. And so
you also learn how to have the panic attack.
Because you witness it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until unless you've witnessed elements of it, it's hard to, you might not actually play it out the same way.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Because then now you're like, I'm having an anxiety attack. This is what it is. Instead of, okay, maybe I'm just not feeling aligned. Maybe there's, you know, a disbalance in what I'm currently doing and who I actually want to be. But then you're just there and you're like, I'm anxious. I'm having a panic attack. Like, this is who I am, and there's nothing I can do about it. I'm basically doomed. Like, I'm just going to stop breathing and die. Like, and that's what it feels like when you have your panic attacks, right? If you don't know any better, then you're just like, oh my God, like, I'm dying. Like, this is it. Like, say goodbye to everybody I know. And then you don't die and you're like, wait, what was the point of that? Like, what was the point of all that suffering then?
And so how did you start to change? Like, when did you what was the first domino that started to like shift your identity? Because for a while, like, you got told, okay, you're overweight, you're anxious.
Yeah.
You lived that for a minute.
Yeah.
For like years, I'm assuming, potentially. Right?
So there's definitely a level of escape. So after that, I was playing like the victim mentality, right? And I'm like, it's not my fault. I'm anxious. It's not my fault. I'm overweight. You know, it's my genetics. So I kind of fell into that category of limiting myself and limiting my life and limiting my actions, all from this set of limiting beliefs, living inside of the box. And then I would try to escape that box. So I thought that if I drank, I would get less anxious. So that was kind of my go-to, and I was like a party girl. You know, I'm fun. I love having fun. I love dancing. I love pumping people up. I'm passionate about it. But because I got labeled with this anxiety, I was like, I can't do it unless I have something to set me free.
Social lubricant.
Yes, social lubricant. This is where I'm going to start moving the mic and get intense. Social lubricant.
I love it.
So yeah, that's where the how can we say this properly? The lack compensation came in, and it was unfortunately alcohol. And little did I know back in the day that I'm actually intolerant to alcohol. So
really?
I've had seizures. I've gone in the hospital many times. I've left in an ambulance. I was that girl that the ambulance would come and we'd make jokes like, haha, Erin, your lift is here. And I'd be like, lol, so funny. Yeah.
Like last weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Fun times.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had to exit the Chat, which is a bar in Hudson. I don't know if you've ever been. It's like the local bar, and
not, but that's hilarious.
it's just like the typical like
Called
Chat.
the Chat.
Yeah, so it's like the Chateau du Lac.
Oh,
Very fancy.
okay, yes.
Basically, where everyone goes, it's like everybody knows everybody, and little like hut, you know.
Local dive bar.
Yeah, so basically the local place that I would leave in an ambulance, and I would be that drunk girl, like the belligerently drunk girl who sings nonsense, who's dancing ridiculously. And I felt that, you know, and then I'd wake up the next day and I'd be like, what did I do? You know, I'd just be blackout, like completely blackout. I remember one of my New Year's goals was to not be blackout for like a couple days straight, because it was just so repetitive. Yeah, it got really bad to a certain extent. And everybody, I mean, at that age, you're surrounded by partying. And it was not normal for people, but they handled it differently than I did. So everybody would be hungover and they're just kind of in bed and like moopy, and I would not be able to breathe. I would get shaky. I would be crying. I would get depressed for like weeks. I would not be Erin anymore, and I would feel it. And because I was feeling not Erin, I was like, okay, well, if I drink, then that's where my inner spark, my inner Erin will come back temporarily. Maybe, you know?
Because the Erin that I know, I've only kind of met you, I met you today, but in person, but in terms of like, even when I see in your content online or your Instagram stories, you're this bubbly, you're like a life of the party kind of character. And I'm going to say character because I don't think you're playing up to a character. I think that's just who you are. That's my understanding of who you are.
Thank you so much. Means so much
it's all,
I've always wanted to be that.
Yeah, but I think, but I would imagine that part of you associated that element of your character that was like naturally inside of you as being associated to, oh, but I'm only this way when I'm when I'm drunk or when
Yes.
I'm essentially when I'm under some form of influence of some kind.
Yeah. When the social lubricant comes in. Now I am the social lubricant. Like I haven't drank in a while, and I drink very, very minimally.
Yeah.
And when I say drink, I mean, like not a belligerent, but to point where you go to bed and you're like, wow, like I'm drunk, I haven't been that way in a while, and it's transformed me in such a way to be able to go out and to not drink and to know that I am my social lubricant. Like I am the party inside of me, that I don't need any exterior sources. But we'll get there after. We'll continue on the journey. So I think the turning point was I used to love taking pictures. So I would be the girl at the party that'd be like, smile. It gave me an identity too, to be behind the camera. And I felt like if I was behind the camera, then I wasn't in front of it, and I would never let people take pictures of me. No bad pictures. I would make it such a purpose to hide my flub. So I would wear pajamas to school, like 2 pairs of pants. I don't know why I thought that would help. Principal literally comes up to me and she's like, Erin, you can't wear pajamas. And I'm like, well, nothing else fits me because I'm too fat. She'd be like, okay.
Wow.
Okay, we'll let you wear your pajamas.
Okay, no problem.
All right, bye.
They don't want a lawsuit on their hands.
No.
Yeah.
So I would wear my jacket, and sometimes I wouldn't wear anything underneath. Like I wouldn't wear a top, just because they'd be like, take off your jacket, and what are you doing? And I'd be like, I'm naked underneath, so I can't take it off. Like I would go to that extent.
Wow.
To make sure that I would not show my body. And I would literally just like pop on the jacket, and that was my clothing. That was my shirt. I was like, I'm not taking it off. I don't want people to see my fat. So I would just wear my jacket all the time. I would go to parties in big t-shirts, which probably really did the opposite effect of what I wanted. And I look back now at party pictures of me, and I'm wearing like a big t-shirt and I'm wearing pajamas, and I'm like, that's so sad, because I used to look at the girls wearing the jeans and like all those cute tops, and I just look at them and be like, wow, I wish I could wear that. I wish I could actually wear what I wanted to and not have to go like ask my dad if I can borrow a shirt to like party in it, But then I claimed that as who I was. And it's interesting because people on the exterior saw me as this person who just didn't give a fuck. I was just like, walking around in my pajamas, and I was still a bright light, Yeah,
you still had character, and you're making people laugh. Obviously you had you still had the energy that brought that it has is essentially is magnetic or attractive in some capacity.
Yes.
And then that energy is confused, and people confuse your I'm wearing fucking pajamas and fuck you kind of mentality really with your confidence, when in reality it was actually the exact opposite.
100%. And that's what's painful, right? When people see you in a certain way, and then you go home and you're like, fuck, I'm not that person. And then people see you as a super positive, and then you have to always be positive. You have to always be the light, because people are like, wow, you're always so happy, and you're always so this, and you're always so that. And then you go home and you're like, but I'm not. And you don't want to show that to people either, because then what does that say about you? It makes you seem kind of unauthentic in a way. So you try so hard to shine the light everywhere you go, and then you come home and you're kind of just like drained. You're drained because deep down that that's not how you're feeling, and it's what you want to feel. It's what you want to be. And then it's even more frustrating to be like, hey, well, why don't I actually feel like that if other people are seeing it in me? And I'm getting all these compliments, and all these people want to be around me, but I don't want to be around myself. And then that's so fucked. Like that is the worst. That is, in my opinion, the worst feeling, is to not know
why everyone likes you, but at the same time, you don't feel like you're even that person.
Yeah.
They're painting you as a character, saying, wow, we love you for being this person. And then you're like literally feeling imposter syndrome and being like, I'm not that person.
Yeah.
Or at least I don't feel like I'm that person.
I'm going to cry.
Isn't
Get
that
emotional in here.
everybody's social media?
Ooh.
Well, I was about to ask, were you at this time on social media? Like, was this in this time frame you're also posting on social?
Yeah. So Instagram kind of came in like bacon girl, having fun, drinking. And then,
because you went to high school with social media.
Yeah.
I didn't.
That's true.
That's part of the.
That's true.
There's a little bit of a difference in that.
Also, it was more Facebook. Instagram came in at the end.
Sure.
My friend showed me, and I was like, "What is this?" Like, I don't want to. I used to call her stuff that she would do pony stuff, because she listened to pony music, and she was just very like retro. If you're listening to this, I love you, Dally. But I'd be like, I don't want your pony shit. So she showed me Instagram, and I was like, "What is this pony thing?" Like, I don't want any take in it.
Yeah.
So we were more Facebook. We were more Facebook. We were more like, let's hunt down the shit and like start drama on people's statuses. You know, that was our.
yeah. That was the high school vibes of early Facebook when we didn't really know the consequences of it either fully.
It's probably still there. Like.
Oh, definitely.
FBI. Whoever has my case, like whatever FBI is on my track, they have so much shit on me. Like they must be having a ball. Whoever's spying on me, like must be having the best time ever. In the pig costume every night, she's like. If you're listening to this FBI agent, what's up?
What's up? They're probably they'll find it. We'll do our SEO tagging real proper.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're
Are we gonna get shadow banned now? I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we're already shadow banned.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
You're already shadow banned.
just go watch episode 3 or whatever the pod is, 2 or something. I think it's episode 2 of season 6.
Yeah.
I talk a ton about shadow banning, but the idea. Okay, so you're going through this, you're feeling imposter syndrome, and now somewhere in that timeline, somewhere you eventually get a job, you can't go work in pajamas. That's one thing.
Unfortunately.
And
now I can.
Sure, yeah.
Full circle.
Absolutely, yeah. Hilarious. But you started to change somewhere.
Yeah.
Where or why or what? Was there a trigger? Was there a moment? Was it like was there something that just like smacked you on the backside of the face and just gave you a backhand that was
Big
like, okay,
smack.
this is, but sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes it's what it takes.
You're really good at bringing back the conversation. I must admit, you're a good podcaster.
Thank you.
Because I could go on forever. I could be here for 5 hours and talk about shit.
I appreciate it. This is my job as a host to guide and exactly.
You are a social lubricant.
I am I'm the conversational lubricant.
He's the podcast lubricant.
I'm the podcast
lubricant.
Yeah, just keeping us on track, just making sure we're going in and out real smart. Yeah.
Real smart.
Real smart. Real good, real smooth.
No comment. So the slap in the face. Yes, the slap in the face was, like I said, I'd be taking the pictures, right? That's where I was coming out with my other thing. I would be taking videos all the time too. And the next day I'd like get in my chamber and edit the pictures. And once I was editing videos, it was so disgusting. It was like a video of me drunk. And it's like, hi, how are you? How was the part? You know, like you just hear yourself and you're like, oh my God, like, is that me? Like automatic repulse. And I was like, no, I have to listen to this. Like I have to listen to how I'm being. And that was my slap in the face when I actually heard and saw who I was being. And the thing is that there was countless times that I would wake up and I'd be like, I want to change. I don't want to be this person. I'm not feeling good. I need to change my environment and my circumstance. I need to change everything around me. Mm-hmm. But you don't do it, right? You just fall right back into that cycle. So you delete phone numbers or you delete this ideal of yourself that you are. And then you wake up the next morning and somebody invites you to a party and you're like, yeah. So this was the moment that I looked at myself on camera and I saw, like, that was the awareness that just went, now I see. Mm-hmm. I see who I don't want to be. Mm-hmm. And then from that point on, I just made the decision that I didn't want to be that person anymore. My desire to change became greater than the desire to remain that same person. And until we have that desire, right? Until we make that click of like, no, I don't want to be this, then we stay in the same cycle. Mm-hmm. So that's when the inspiration and the passion came in. And I was like, cool. I was passionate about a lot of stuff before, and I was passionate about hating myself and passionate about eating bacon. You know, I can just, let's put that on the other side. Mm. And that's where the true journey begins, right?
So where did you start?
So I started working out, you know, like everybody, like, I'm going to be so aligned. I'm going to heal my unworthiness. I'm going to heal my anxiety.
You weren't using those words though.
No. I'm going to become confident.
That's the word. Those are the types of words you were using. Yeah. I'm going to look hot. I'm going to look this. You started with a base consciousness to some degree, for sure. You have to. Everyone does. Yeah. You don't ascend through, let me shift my identity.
Release the resistance.
No, but you're not starting like that's, you know what I mean? Like, because realistically, well, and the verbiage has evolved over time too, through just the amount of content that we have online, and just the number of people talking about it, and the number of 14-year-old life coaches that we now have online. But I'm saying that with the idea that you started with, okay, I'm going to be confident. I'm gonna look good.
Yeah. empowered was always my word. I was like, I'm going to be empowered. Like I'm going to become a version of myself that's just like so fierce. And I would look at calm people. I was always so attracted to just like calmness. And I would look at it and be like, oh, that person's so lucky that they're born like that. You know, I thought it was something that people were just naturally, I didn't think it was a skill. So I would see it and I'd immediately feel lack from it. And I'd be like, shit, like I would want to be that, but I can't, you know, I can't, I just can't until you learn you can. And then that's when everything fucking, but, before that, there's stages before that.
Yeah.
So there's that version of, I want to lose weight and I want to be confident and I want to, it's not even, I want to be empowered. It's, I want to seem empowered. And that's the difference of
perceived as something.
Yeah, and that's where
because you said something very subtle there, which is it's not I want to be in shape. You said I want to lose weight.
Yes,
that's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah,
right? Most people start at I don't want to. It's like I want to be not something.
I want to not be fat and anxious.
I want to not be fat and anxious. Exactly.
Basically, and I think that's where the transition goes of looking at something that looking at that calm person and being like, wow, I want to seem like that instead of be like that. Like I just want to come off as a empowered person and I want to come off as somebody who has their shit together instead of actually becoming that person. That's where the first mistake is. But it's all part of the journey, I guess. I mean,
it's a mistake. Well, yeah, we could call it a mistake, but it led you to where you're at. So is it a
stepping
mistake?
Stone.
Exactly. It's a part of the process of that consciousness that you move through, which is like, one of the ways I became an entrepreneur is because I didn't want to be a 9-to-5er. It's just the truth. One of the ways I became an entrepreneur is because I didn't want to sit in traffic. It just was one of my truths. I just did that at 18. So I was lucky that for the last 14 years I've been an entrepreneur basically. But that still came from some level of not wanting to be things. And then there was other things where I was like, I am a particular thing and I'm not accepted for that particular thing. So that identity for me was I'm a stoner. I'm not accepted for being a stoner. I can't tell my parents that I'm a stoner. And I wouldn't even use that term anymore, but that's what term I would have used at the time, which is that I smoke weed regularly. And I can't tell people, but I also didn't identify fully with going to Foof's and waiting outside and a super, like an artificial line. I say Foof's is a local bar in Montreal for those who don't know. But yeah, Foof's in the which is hilarious, like very grungy.
Very bonjour high.
Very bonjour.
It's very bonjour ho.
It's very...
Yes.
Boom, baby. It is
the
very
definition of bonjour ho.
It is the definition of bonjour ho. That is hilarious.
Snatch.
Yeah, well done, Jordan, on that one.
I love that.
It is.
I'm
very
making you a
bonjour
hat that says bonjour ho.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
But but it's because I didn't identify. I didn't really feel accepted as I wasn't really interested in alcohol that much. I was much more interested in like going to the bar. I still wanted to go to the bar, but I wanted to go to the bar high, and I had a very different mindset where because getting high was changing the way I perceived the world, and it also started to change the landscape of like what the rules were. Because the rules were drugs are illegal, drugs are bad, but then I tried it and it was like, well, actually, they're not that bad. They're fairly interesting, and they kind of like expand your mind, and they lead you to all these other, and we call it a gateway drug for a reason. It very much so is, right? I ended up trying psychedelics and a bunch of other stuff that changed my entire reality. Like I would definitely credit a huge amount of my shift through my teenage years and through my life to discovering weed, discovering that the rules didn't always have to be the same way we thought they had to be. Everything didn't have to be played the same way. And I had this kind of duality between going to school and following the traditional path that my parents had always envisioned for me, specifically my mother, and then this other path where I was an entrepreneur working full time, and like, oh, well, we don't have enough money to pay Hydro this month. Oh, great, we'll pay them next month. I was like, what? Wait, what? You can do that? You just don't need to pay the bill right now? Well, no, it's cash flow or whatever. And we figure things out. And so there was this like weird scenario where I was living, I kind of like there was a difference between what was being told in the books and the book smart side of things versus what was like really happening on the streets. And I don't say that to be a gangster. I say that just
full
to
rebel.
to talk about like the real world.
Yeah.
Right? So the real world was a little different. and I didn't feel like I fit into most of the reality of the real world. Because I wasn't like a huge hockey fan, and I never played hockey.
And you're Canadian, so like...
Yeah, I never played hockey, so I didn't particularly fit certain molds, and then I decided I was going to create this other mold. So I was lucky that was my reality.
It's like the opposite, you and I. You were like expansive, and you're like, wow, I'm going beyond all the rules. And I was like, I am in a little crammed box.
Yeah, I was expansive, but I contracted in a different way. My contraction was existential angst, because I'd watched way too many documentaries, and I learned too much about the world. I like studied too many conspiracy theories. Whether they're true or not, it didn't matter, because it shattered my paradigm of it shattered the entire belief structure and system that had been my life to that moment.
Define existential
angst. It means that you're worried about your existence. You're worried about I didn't want to have kids because I thought that like the world was going to end and kids are a bad idea. And sometimes I still feel that way, to be honest, right? Like I'm like, maybe there's too many people on the planet. And then I'm like, well, maybe not though. Like maybe there's kind of this balance that we experience between kind of like the world is going to shit and everything's shit, and then the world is beautiful and everything's abundant. And anybody who's observed at any of their own thoughts at all can kind of feel when you're in one state or the other. And if you're getting really good at it, which I think you've gotten good at it over time, you can recognize it, name it, and then shift. You can state shift, which is a core facet of mindset shift, which is a core facet of therefore expanding character, belief, identity, job, career, all the other things that go with that, right? But for me, that existential angst created this separation between who I thought I was, which was student, right? For my whole life, I'd been a student. And then, like I said, there was this other side of me that was this entrepreneur. And so that dichotomy, but while going to school full time, I'm working full time. The dichotomy of those two identities started to clash. And one of them had a lot of freedom and a lot of expansiveness and a lot of like creativity and a lot of like network and a lot of recognition, but also a lot of hard work. And the other was like this carved out path that never taught me the real shit. Like, I never learned how to pay taxes. Neither did you. I never learned how to deal with, open a bank account, get a loan, do fucking things that everyday people need to do.
Or even to be happy. We don't learn how to be happy.
We don't learn anything in school, in fact. What we learned is how to fill out fill the box, fit the label, get the paper that says, now you're this label, therefore you can get this job, even though you have no qualifications, right? How many people are graduating as an accountant and have no idea how to do accounting? Have no use. They've never used an accounting software. Yet everyone who's doing accounting is using accounting software. So what the fuck? And beyond even that, how many people are saying, I want to be a lawyer, and never spent a day hanging out in a law firm or hanging out with a lawyer? How is this reasonable?
It's not.
And in America, it's like, oh, let's pile on $200,000 of debt to fuck you, essentially, in every way. So I had this massive existential crisis that was happening around all paradigms of the system, whether it be big pharma or peak oil or money, where money came from, that there's more debt than there is money. And we still have that system today, fractional reserve banking. So that idea, all of those ideas, then mixed with the media is lying to us. We have a narrative problem. We have all these things that are being, essentially my life is a lie. And not only is my life is a lie, if everyone lived like me, we'd need 5 planets to survive. Like the average Canadian, right? Even me, it's probably even worse, if I'm being honest, specifically now. And it's not because I'm a terrible consumer or whatever. It's just I'm super fortunate. And I hire a lot of people. And I do a lot of things. And this has embodied energy. It creates a lot of inspiration. I think it does more good than it does harm. And I've planted enough trees to fucking offset all of this at this point in my life. But that existential angst led to me starting a movement. Well, it led to me starting an inner revolution that started an outer revolution.
Inner revolution. An
inner revolution where I decided that if I was going to be this piece of shit, then I had to correct it. That's the easiest way to say it.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, most people don't call themselves a piece of shit, but
he knows what he is.
Yeah, Jordan will quantify that for sure. But the idea is I felt guilty, some level of guilt. Now you can call it a privilege guilt. You can call it a white guilt. It wasn't a white guilt so much as it was a privilege guilt. And it was a I know better, and therefore I feel I need to do better. Right? Like at some point you can't live in the paradigm where it's like, I fucking know better. In the same way that you were like, I know better that every time I drink, I black out and I don't feel good and I feel shit for hours. And I know better that people are treating me like I have confidence, but I don't have confidence. So at some point, the delta between those, like the gap that you're experiencing between one identity or one side of your character and the other side of your character just shatters. And some people shatter and then go into depression and anxiety and challenges and they spiral downwards. I just shattered and got lucky and spiraled upwards. And my Instagram account actually started on the farm. My first picture was on the farm.
On the farm.
It was the only thing I knew how to capture. It was like the story. It was my first ever story, if that makes sense. I'd built brands and whatever, but it was like the first time I was starting to tell a story. And I don't know where I was going with that, but the idea is
point of
like,
a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
And go on for hours.
Yeah, exactly. We just keep going. No, but that identity shift or that existential angst, that's where I was going with it, became a negative fuel source that for me literally carried me probably from that moment, let's say at 18-ish, when I started to feel that existential angst, and then I felt it really deeply at like 21 when I was graduating university, and 22, 23 when I started the farm at 23. That was like the peak of my existential angst, and it kind of continued for a while, but that negative fuel source continued basically all the way until like a year ago, where or 2 years ago.
Negative fuel source.
What I mean by that is I was motivated by anger. I wasn't building the paradise. I was building the anti-system. I was building the revolution, not the place where we can go and like find abundance and love. The place that would be abundant and have love, but wasn't being built from that place. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that transformation of this negative fuel source, meaning let me show you, right? That let me show you energy, or that I can do it better energy, or that this is wrong and I am right energy, that holier than thou energy, all of those things had a purpose in my journey, but it was unsustainable. Although the entire project and farm and everything about it was about sustainability, was about community, sustainability, knowledge. And it was originally focused on communities, or sustainability, community, knowledge, and action. Those are our 4 core values that started Valhalla, which is the name of the farm. And that shifted and changed over time, but it only happened, for me, it happened through observing nature. For me, it happened through heartache. It happened through meeting people who were just smarter than me, and meeting people who were experiencing life in a much easier state than I was. Even though I was incredibly successful in all kinds of, and now, I don't want to say everything, but in a lot of things, I was still struggling. And the entire time I was like living this martyr identity where it's like, I'm going to build the new world that's possible in my heart by sacrificing my world. By sacrificing who I am, my happiness, this, that, the other, whatever it is. I'm going to use my resources to build the fucking better thing. And that's beautiful. It's inspiring. A lot of people see that and see inspiration because they're coming from a negative fuel source too, so they understand that inspiration. But actually, when you start talking like in other language, like when you're like, oh no, my life is super abundant, I'm super happy, they don't relate anymore. I was more popular. I could be more popular. That's a better way of saying it. I could be more popular if I spoke more from the negative fuel source. And just like, hey, this is what you could do. You feel this way? You feel like shit? Great. Don't feel like shit. Fuck the man. And I did that. If I moved from that place and I spoke from that place, I would have more views.
Negative fuel source. I love that word. Yeah. I'm just going to put that out there.
Great.
Do you feel like 90% of the world is negative fuel source?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, 90% of our cars are a negative fuel source.
Yeah.
So
is that not what drives consumerism? Is the want. And isn't want a lack of something, and therefore a negative fuel source?
I mean, look, there are things that we need, and there are things that we want, and I think there's healthy wants. There's also healthy needs. But where that falls, and how that falls, and why you're doing something, I think changes the energy behind it, and therefore whether it's positive or negative. Because I truly believe that you can eat bacon and still be totally aligned and still be an amazing person. And you can also not eat bacon and be totally aligned and be an amazing person.
100%.
And I don't think it makes you a better or worse person that you made a specific choice, but it does or could mean that you're moving from a particular place versus another particular place, meaning negative fuel source or more sustainable fuel source or positive fuel source. And so that shit for me is actually very recent. And
so you recently let go of the negative fuel source and replaced it with?
Love, intimacy, unconditional love is a better way of saying it. But intimacy is, at this moment, is the number one thing that changed that. Community has always been my guiding, like my guardrails. Like if we're bowling, and if I had those gutter rail, gutter guards or whatever, community has always been the thing that has kind of steered me right. And I was just lucky enough to have invested in that in every way. The farm itself, me starting on the farm and documenting the journey.
I want to see this farm.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's beautiful. I mean, it's awesome. It's really cool.
They make good eggs.
We have great eggs. Yeah,
Chickens.
I can't have chickens.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna go see the chickens.
This is where you can be more flexible because the chickens were outside and
they're
chilling
well
and-
treated.
happy.
and
They're happy.
Can I go there with my pig costume and just,
You can.
and
is there piggies there?
scare the chickens?
There is no
And
piggies.
scare the chickens. Boo.
There's no piggies there. There's a dog. There's chickens.
Puppers.
There's lots of fruit trees and garlic and just a bit of everything. Kale, whatever you name it. Tomatoes. All the things.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So we dove deep into my story. But this is not me conversationally guiding people who are here to listen to you. So you start taking pictures.
Yes, I start taking pictures.
You want to be something that you want to start getting fit.
Yeah.
You
So
start
I'm
working
like,
out.
I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to be so happy and all my anxiety is going to be gone and I'm going to be the best person in the world. The moment that I lose weight, right? So that's automatically, now that's the end goal. And I'm seeing myself, yes, refill.
Yes.
I'm going to play with the microphone in the meantime. Refill.
Keep telling me a story.
All right, so here I am, and I'm like, okay, there's current Erin, so I'm at point A, and then there's future Erin that I see as being like a fit person who doesn't have a lot of weight, who can wear jeans, who can wear stuff and like not have like the flub pass over, not be scared to like sit down. That was like my main priority was to just feel comfortable.
Not be scared to sit down.
Yeah, because like if you're flubby, have you been flubby?
Well, my brother would say yes.
Like how many days have you been working out now? Like 80?
100 days ago.
100 days.
100 days.
So before the 100 days.
Yeah. No, I mean, no, I've never been overweight. I've been like unhealthy-ish, but I've never been overweight.
So there's like this point where the stomach kind of just like passes over, and you're sitting down and you can just feel it. It's kind of like the flubby. And whenever I would sit down, I would feel this flubby and I would see it. And I was always so self-conscious. Like I'd always be touching it and I'd be like, people are seeing it. So I would literally grab like a pillow. I would grab something or I'd be like this.
Sit with something in front of you.
Yeah. So people are like, why are you holding a pillow? And
wow,
I'm like,
you just made me so conscious of the fact that there's a ton of women that I know that do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
We do it subconsciously too,
I literally never thought about that.
Yeah. 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 People out there realize that if you see somebody trying to hide
something in front of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. It's really sad. It's really, really sad.
And it could start from that, and then it becomes a force of habit, and you don't know why they're doing it.
Yeah. When I was losing weight, I was still grabbing the pillow. And then somebody be like, why are you holding a pillow? And I was like, I don't know. But then it clicked, right? Once you become aware.
Unconscious pattern.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like unconscious pattern of going to stores and still buying large clothing.
But you started losing weight, but you just started going to the gym on your own?
So here's the story. So I wanted to become a fit Erin, and then I'm here, and I was like, cool, what's the path to get there? So I go on bodybuilder.com, right? You know it? Yeah. The land where dreams come true. The land where your form goes to shit.
Yeah, or false ideals.
Oh, yeah. So bodybuilding.com, the protein powder. So I become like a gym bro. I'm like chicken. I need chicken all the time. I need
chicken, broccoli, rice.
Chicken, broccoli, rice. And the thing is, I'm a deep diver. I'm a deep,
So you
dedicated
just went
diver.
straight into the deep end.
I went straight from being overweight to being completely underweight and unfed and
Just like fucking at the gym all the time.
so drained. And now all of this lack and the anxiety and
You might have gotten a little bit better to some degree. Your anxiety when you're working out.
But it just converted itself into something else.
A new form of anxiety.
A new form. We'll call it gym angst. It converted into this space where I was like, if I don't go to the gym today,
No bueno.
no bueno. I'm not me. I'm not happy. I'm not at peace.
Oh, wow.
So it just kind of converted. And yes, like every day got better and better and better because I was feeling more confident in the determination that you gain to go to the gym every day and to be there for yourself is a journey within, right? But there is still that I want to get to the point where I'm confident and I'm happy, just happy. So then here you are busting your ass off, going to the gym twice a day. I got into like 5-3-1 and somebody was like, you need to be really advanced and like really strong. And I was like, I'm strong.
Done.
I can do it. So I'm here like
Feel
powerlifting.
negative. Let me show you energy.
Oh yeah. What did you call it? The negative?
Negative fuel source, but let me show you energy.
Negative fuel source. I'm holding on to that word, and that's exactly what it was. It was a fuel source of neediness and having to show myself in a certain way. And, going to the gym, when you start to lose weight and stuff, you start to get all like too ego confident. And I was like, I can lift so much. So I started doing powerlifting.
Wow.
With very improper form. I like Googled 5-3-1 and here I am like bench pressing like 90 pounds and I'm like, I'm so strong and I'm still like this, right? Because I was overweight, like my boobs were huge. I was always carried down and I was super, super not confident. So I was consciously closed off. So when you go into the gym with that closed offness, now you're taking all of that, how can I call it, lack, and you're transferring it into
your body. Physical
weights.
form.
Yeah, and into physical form. And it's interesting because it's kind of just the concept of like, yeah, you're still going to the gym, but your posture, your physiology, like the way you stand is still the same. So what does that prove? I'm here and I lost all the weight, but I'm still crouched like this when I enter a room. So here I am working out, I'm doing flies and I'm like this. And like people must have been so cringed out watching me. And I overdid it. And then I got a back injury. And so
deadlifts.
Yeah.
You were doing deadlifts and you got a back injury?
Doing deadlifts, back injury, super, super hunched forward. And I kept going. And I just kept going. And I went to go see physio and they're like, no more. And then it's just going until one day you crash. So then, you get to that point where you're working so hard. And here I am eating just chicken. I'm literally waking up in the middle of the night to drink a protein shake and going back to bed. I have an alarm, my protein alarm.
Wow.
Yeah. I would eat half a tub of cottage cheese before bed.
What?
Because somebody said it would help you grow muscles while you sleep.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I dove deep. I did like the 6 weeks to shreds program, also known as like 6 weeks don't eat, overtrain your body, and like just completely destroy your inspiration levels. And this was all the negative fuel energy that you were saying before. That is what I was backed with. Like that is what like
kept you alive.
Yeah, like going to the gym, like I was inspired, and every day I was like, wow, like I'm doing this for myself. This is so good.
But meantime, you're getting validation online because you're posting pictures now.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Now you're in front of the camera.
Yeah. So now I'm starting to go in front of the camera and I post my first picture of like, I lost weight and I'm just there like in the mirror, my super dirty brim. And I'm like, here's me.
Yeah.
And then all the people were
Instagram
following me.
Lights up and they're like, wow.
Wow. Bacon girl is
hot.
now losing weight. Yeah. So then that's when I gained even more followers, So all the bacon people are now kind of, they're still there because they're like, wow, but now I'm getting all the people that are like weight loss inspiration and
fitness.
Yeah. And now I'm attracting more of those people. And so I had a personal trainer. So a personal trainer came to see me and he was like, what are you doing? You need my help.
You're crazy, bitch.
You crazy. Yeah. Like literally, what are you doing? Like there's so many times that he stopped me and he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just trying something new. Like I try to make up my own workouts that I thought were logical to help me lose more weight. Like I would lift a weight and then try and like run at the same time,
You're so hilarious.
People would
I love how creative you are that person though. For sure you're that person.
Oh yeah. It went so hard that I ended up hurting myself. But at least the creativity was there. And so this trainer came and he saw me and he's like, you need me. And I was like, yes, I do. Okay. Like, I'm going to admit it. And then there comes that point too, that you kind of drop your ego and you're like, I do need help, So I accepted his help, and he was a very interesting trainer. He was my first one. Right. And then I'm talking to him about food, and I'm already very clearly going through food struggles, right? Because I just went from, all my unhealthy eating patterns of eating too much to now eating not enough. And I guess he didn't know that, but I asked him, my main question was like, can I eat muffins? Like, that was the first thing. I was like, I fucking love muffins. And I started making my own healthy muffins. I went to Liquid Nutrition for the first time. My sister was vegan, and she brought me, and she was like my inspiration. I was like, wow, she's so healthy and fit. And I got to Liquid Nutrition, older sister. Yeah. And I got there, and there was desserts, and I was like, are these healthy? And she was like, yeah. I was mind blown. Wow. Mind blown. I love desserts. Love desserts. And I was like, what's in them? And she was like, bananas and dark chocolate and oatmeal. And I was just like, whoa, what a life. Like, what a life that I've not been into for way too long. So I got super, super passionate about that. I dove deep. I went home. I did so much research on healthy baking, and that became my thing.
So now all of a sudden you're a foodie.
So now all of a sudden I'm eating desserts that feel good, and I'm starting to find joy, right? So I'm at this place where I'm like, okay, I'm starting to find balance. I'm making cottage cheese pancakes, but at least I'm trying to do something different. And then I get this trainer, and I ask him about my muffins, and I'm like, I'm making muffins, and I'm really inspired by it. But when during the day should I eat it, or like once or twice a week? I need a structure for it. And he looks at me and he's like, never.
No muffins.
No muffins? What? No muffins. My life is ruined. And I'm like, but it's banana muffin. And he was like, how many bananas are you eating? And I was like, probably like 2 a day. I have like my banana smoothie in the morning, and then banana muffin at night. And he was like, that's way too much. Like, you need to cut it to half a banana. And I'm just like, mind blown, right? I finally started to find stability. And here's this trainer telling me that, like, basically, like, no, like,
you're fucking
all my fitness will be gone if I eat 2 bananas a day. So I follow this regime, this restriction. And I go into this state of not eating bananas and being really sad. And then I crash, obviously, and I run to the Depinar, the Dep. Do you have any followers in the US?
I have followers everywhere.
Yeah. If you guys don't know what the Dep is, because
it's the corner store, the bodega.
Yeah, bodega. So I go to bodega and I buy cookies. I buy immediate release to be, not release, immediate
satisfaction.
Yeah.
The crack of food.
Gratification.
Yeah. Sugar.
Station. Sugar. Yeah.
Give me sugar now.
Give me sugar now. And
light
now
my
there's
brain up like cocaine now. Now.
Need it. Now. Need my muffins. But now I have no muffins because the trainer told me I wasn't allowed to. So I go.
So every once in a while, now you start cheating, essentially.
So now I binge. Now I'm binging, and I'm like, if I just had the fucking muffin 2 days ago when I actually wanted it, I would have ate it in a healthy way. So then that's when the little light clicked, and I was like, wait, if I were to
just my fucking muffins,
one muffin that I like. So I stopped seeing that trainer, obviously, and I was kind of like, fuck this, like, I'm gonna do my own thing. And that's the first time that I experimented with my own health. And before, it was all bodybuilding, like, I'm just doing what people are telling me, and I'm reading these things online. And now I finally gained a little bit more inspiration to do what feels right to me, and it was desserts. It was desserts, and I was like, I'm so passionate.
That's such a fucking hilarious. I love how you went from bacon to cottage cheese to muffins to desserts.
Yeah.
In this, I like that. There's like in your timeline. There's like a food progression.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Food is life.
Yeah.
I still eat muffins. Plot twist. I am a muffin. I am a muffin within.
Now she's gonna pull out a muffin costume.
Muffin mask.
Yeah. I was about to say.
Muffin mask. It's muffin time.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not.
I do have dark chocolate in my bag.
It's true. She brought dark chocolate. You came prepared. I will say.
So now I'm at now the stability, being able to have chocolate, but it all came from going through those times of restricting myself and then gaining the experience myself of knowing that it's not about the restrictions. It's about how much love you can put in a dessert, basically. And so I started putting the desserts online. I started making desserts. Got really passionate about it. I started making banana.
And online means Instagram specifically.
Instagram. Yeah,
the IG.
Instagram. I started posting. There was black bean brownies, avocado stuff. And I started posting them, and then I gained even more followers. Hashtags. So then that's when the followers started to grow. I don't even like calling them followers. I like calling them like supporters, friends.
Yeah, friends.
Yeah, friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when the friends started to grow. And I got approached by a company. I'm not going to name their name, but I got approached by a company and they're like, hey, like we have protein powder.
Ooh.
And we would love it if you put it in your desserts because we are noticing from the hashtags that you're putting and your stuff is really out there and people really like it.
Mm-hmm.
So how
You got your
about
first sponsored influencer deal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I was like, oh my God, I'm famous. This is it. My big break. I'm going to make muffins for a living and I'm going to get paid for it. So I'm like, how am I going to add protein powder into this? So now I'm starting to make desserts and I have to put the little stupid fucking bag in the corner, right? And it has to say the brand. So muffins, usually I'd get deep, you know, I'm like, oh yeah, I see the chocolate chips. And now you have to see the bag. You have to see the bag with the brand. And now I'm
How much were they paying you for this?
So they were basically give me free protein powder and I would get the commission.
Yeah, they were fucking you.
Yeah. And so at that point, I was probably, let's say 5K. I was at 5,000 followers. And they were also giving me advice on how to grow. So they were like this community. And and then you get into the group with all the girls, with all the Insta famous girls that are at like 100,000.
We're gonna like share each other's content. You'll like my thing in a DM group and and then it started to grow.
Oh yeah, and then we're gonna comment on your thing and you comment on mine, but I'm not gonna comment on yours if you don't comment on mine. And what you comment, how many emojis you put, I'm gonna put the exact same amount.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah.
You nailed that one. I love how you just like yeah. You gave that's real talk right there.
Yeah.
That was a real thing.
Oh yeah.
That was like a period of time on Instagram where bot follower, follow things.
Yes.
All those things were a thing.
Like for like, follow for follow.
Like for like, follow for follow, but
like.
also DM engagement groups. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's we're dating this a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now this is coming into the point where, okay, well, the only way I can grow is if I have other people. So you kind of start this little community. You start this little engagement group and then you start to share, but then you also start to compare. So then you see these girls with 100,000 followers and they're all bootylicious, you know, and they're just squatting in front of the camera. And
You're like,
so,
fuck,
yeah.
I have to do this.
No, yeah, great. I don't want to do that. I want to share my muffins. Just want to be in a big costume and dance.
I just wanted to post my muffins, not to show my ass.
And they're sending me activewear and they're telling me what to do in it. So yeah, so they launched an activewear brand too. So now they send me the activewear and they're like, okay, Erin, like obviously like you worked out, you have a nice body. Now you're going to promote our activewear. And I'm like, great, I'm going to get free clothes. This is lit. Like this is all I've ever dreamed of, right? I love clothes. And there was a guideline. Okay, so I got the activewear and then the guideline was like, okay, make sure you set up your camera low enough so that they can see your ass, basically. Like, make sure the camera is set low. Basically, yeah. Make sure that it's angled so that, like, it's a flattering position on the side. Like, basically to make sure people see your ass and that you're squatting in front of the camera. That's all that matters, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, and then I got the activewear and I made a video. We can go back and find it at some point, but it's so cringy. I'm just like on a couch with my shoes. And some people commented like, this girl's wearing her tennis shoes inside of her house. Like, how dare she? And I got so much like, yeah, oh my God.
That was a Canadian commenting.
Oh my God. Tabarnak.
No, but it's only because Canadians actually take off their shoes in the house, whereas Americans will wear shoes inside the house.
Really?
It's a thing, yeah. Americans are more likely to wear shoes inside the house, whereas the Canadians, we take them off instantly.
Oh, well, the Canadians just...
It's because we have snow.
Gave me a hard time.
We just have snow.
Yeah.
And so
Rocks,
nobody's like...
Salt.
Yeah, nobody's coming into your house wearing shoes.
Very true.
Because that's just how it happened.
Well, my shoes were clean. So, you know, get off my back, people.
Anyway.
So I'm doing this like booty fucking workout on a couch. And I'm like, booty on a couch. 3 moves to gain your biggest butt, you know, big booty, big dreams. Ooh. Yeah. So it was shitty. But then I started expanding, right? So then I'm like, I'm going to do a video in my pig costume. And they're like, okay, now you have to do the activewear and the pre-workout and the protein powder. So protein powder, I'm like, cool, I'm going to put it in my muffins somehow. Even though it didn't taste the best, you know, I try to figure out ways around it to just put it in there. So now I'm altering my content.
Yeah, your message. Your
my
message
message
shifted.
Yeah, not only my message, but my creation,
Yeah.
my intention behind it. Now I'm
Literally
not
your art.
doing it.
Your art is being impacted.
My muffins are ruined.
Of all the things that you would
My
ruin,
muffins.
Erin, don't ruin the muffins.
My muffins. It's tragic.
Oh, that
Absolutely tragic.
That is tragic that you ate subpar muffins.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Some of this stuff was good.
Sure.
But, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But not all of it. We'll put it that way.
I
Protein muffins.
But oh, that's so that makes me my skin is crawling inside because it's like, wow, this tastes great because I'm sure that's what you had to post.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're not like, well, it's kind of like a 4 on 10.
Yeah.
You're not like, I made these
like
muffins
shit.
a 4 on 10, but buy the protein powder. Yeah, like for sure. So you're essentially you're inflating, right? You're kind of inflating the.
I'd be like, it's optional. Like hint, like don't
optional.
put it in.
Yeah,
you know,
optional.
Message the people like privately, like don't put it in.
Don't do it. Don't do it. No, don't do it.
Yeah. So now I'm starting to post videos, and it used to just be this was my theme: a picture of me.
Yeah.
Food, picture of me, food, picture of me, food. So I thought it was really cool to look at my profile and be like, muffin Erin. And I made it like all cool and creative.
Yeah, the Instagram, like nice little diamond grid, or they did the 3-in-1, or then every once in a while you have like a big one. And yeah.
Exactly. You just have muffins all like one strip.
Yeah.
Like
Muffins.
It's muffin week.
Yeah.
I used to get really creative and I loved that. And then they were like, Erin, you need to start making workout videos.
Ooh.
And that's when the whole like, squat in front of the camera and the activewear thing came in. And I was like, I'm not much of a camera person. I was like, I'm honestly like a little bit anxious. I don't feel comfortable. And, and they're like, we're going to have to get over that,
We're paying you nothing.
We're paying you nothing. We're sending you protein powder and see-through activewear. So, step your shit up.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, cool. So I put on the activewear.
Yeah.
And I do this video of me like running with my partner at the time had, what's it called? The things that go in the air? Drone.
Oh.
A drone. So we make this epic video where it's like me with like, I'm shaking the drink and I'm drinking it. And I'm like, I was going to say the brand. I'm not going to say it. And then I'm like,
It's like a shake weight commercial.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And then the drone flies in the air. So I'm like working out by the water.
Wow.
And the drone is following me and
So
it's
beautiful.
beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I send it to them and they're like, Erin, we just want you to squat in front of the camera. And I was like, this is beautiful. Yeah. Like, this is so lit. And they're like, no, like people won't relate to that.
It's true.
People won't relate. They won't want to buy stuff from you.
But they're not wrong.
They're not wrong. But that's not what I wanted to do.
I get that, but that's so fucking like back to what I was saying earlier. It's like it's crazy that if I spoke from a negative fuel source, meaning if I just like approached my storytelling from the perspective of negativity, aka scale the villain. If I just like take the villain, you're not enough. You should buy my thing. No. 5 ways you could be rich tomorrow. It's like, okay. If I spoke like that more, I would actually make more money. But how do I not do that?
Yeah.
Right? So that's the first moment you notice that fully.
Yeah.
You were kind of noticing it before, but that's when you're like, okay.
That's when you're faced with it. Yeah. That's when you're like embodying it and you're living it. And then you're just
am I
like,
the influencer or am I the person influenced?
Exactly. Am I what's it called? The product or the...
Ooh.
Am I the...
Oh, damn.
Am I the seller of the product?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah.
Oh,
shit.
Okay, you're gonna say that one again. Am I the seller or am I the product? You were definitely the product.
I was the product. I was a product, selling the product to more products.
Oh,
it's a chain of products.
God.
And where's the value in that?
Oh.
Where's the inspiration in
Production.
But bootylicious. But what about
production value?
What about big booty?
Big booty, big dreams. Big booty, big goals, big dreams. New year, new booty. Like that's all that matters at this point, right?
Oh, okay. So then you have this realization.
So then everything's shitty, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting activewear and I'm getting free protein powder. But is it really worth it? And then I went out, right? It's really funny because it was actually there. And I posted a story of me and my friends dancing, and then the person that was in charge of the company messages me, and he's like, you can't have that on your platform.
Nope, can't do it.
Nope, not allowed to post any partying, not allowed to have a life, only fitness.
Only healthy,
only healthy
bootylicious.
stuff. Big bootylicious.
Even though I want to meet you at the bar.
Yeah.
Like the person who's watching is like, I want to see this person at the bar so I can hook up with them. But
we only want to see them working out on their couch. Like that's all we want to see, right? And that was another moment that I got pulled back and I was like, wow, okay, like, is this even my page anymore? Like, how much are you paying me to now dictate my page? And I will give them this. Like, they did help me grow my page. You know, the video thing it helped me get out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And the engagement group was really good too. But then I found myself being in an engagement group where people are like, oh, guys, I really want to lose like 5 pounds next week. Like, what do I do? And the other girl's like, just eat chicken. Like, just eat chicken for the next week. And then I'm just there and I'm like,
get everything else and just celery juice.
Just celery juice. And I feel bad if they're watching this. No, they're not going to watch this. But
no, they're not watching this.
No,
nobody watches
and if
this.
they're and if they're no, and it, Jesus, fucking Christ,
I am
damn. This guy,
future me.
motherfuckers collecting a paycheck over here, being like, nobody's watching this, but whatever. I'm selling out to the soul too. Fuck it. I'm just going to Egypt next week, like, or whatever, you know. Oh, fuck me, jeez. All right, tangent. No, people are watching this, but if they're watching it,
Hi, people. If
they're watching it, whoever's watching it, because somebody's watching this, if they're seeing this, if they're hearing this conversation, they're watching this, or they're listening to it at least.
Yeah.
They've already understood. They're shifting.
Yeah. They've shifted too.
Yeah.
That's why they're not in the engagement groups anymore. That's why probably none of them are.
Well, they're not in engagement groups because they're not working anymore.
Yeah. Ça marche pas.
No, can't do it anymore.
No. So you're in this engagement group, and all that matters is that you comment on somebody's thing, so they comment back, and then you're all
algorithms.
Yeah.
You're like, oh god.
And then the one girl that has 100,000 followers, you're all like, oh my god,
please. Oh my god, she's so popular. Please comment on my thing so I get more followers.
That's all that matters. And
I get that.
It was just booty. Like, that was the
sell me your booty.
That was the only thing about the page, and it's discouraging when you're somebody who's trying to actually.
But it sold fucking product though.
Oh yeah, it sold so much, and then at a certain point,
were you like making enough money that you had no other job?
No, because I was.
You were also living at home. I say home, like family or something. Or
yeah,
were you,
yeah. So, yeah, I had my other job at the time, and this was kind of just like my side hustle. You know, like I wasn't making enough income to make it on my own with Instagram.
Yeah.
At that point, right? And to see somebody who is clearly making it on their own, who's like making a killing and is now like, you know, investing money in like house and all this stuff, like $1,000 is what she would charge per post just to have like her ass and like a product, right?
Booty and picture and protein shake.
Exactly. And so, you know, I messaged in the group at a certain point. I was like, I'm not getting as much engagement as you. Like, I might be getting people that are more like interested, you know, people that I'm more like I communicate with, and they message me and they're like, oh, you know, but I don't have a lot. I don't have a lot of people. And I was like, how can I change that? And they're like, you literally just need to post more pictures in like bikinis and show your ass more and booty pop and all that stuff. And I was like, booty pop, what does that mean? That's where the booty popping came in. So then I got into that, you know, and then I was like, okay, well, this is what I need to do to now be recognized. So now we took all of my lack and anxiety and we put it into the gym, and then the gym didn't suffice, so we put it on Instagram. And now all of a sudden, okay, so I'm like, future me is going to be so joyful and happy, and she's going to be skinny,
and she's making $1,000 a post.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. And then you get there and you're just like, how do I still feel shitty? You know, so then you go to the next thing that's not going to make you feel shitty, but then you still have that. What did you call it before? The negative fuel source. Negative fuel source. So now the negative fuel source was just converted into now having to booty pop on Instagram to gain validation so that I can finally feel fulfilled within. And so I start trying to booty pop, and I have cringy pictures and like the background's blurred out, you know, and it did work. I gained a whole bunch of creepy followers, really creepy followers, whole bunch of creepy comments.
Yeah.
And to the point where I started blocking people, you know, like people would send me messages and I would get scared, and I'm like, my information's on here, you know, like I would just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
So I would block them. And then I'm like, wait, okay, so here I am.
Trying to gain followers at the same time, but I'm blocking them.
Then I'm blocking them at the same time. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Qu'est-ce qui se passe? And it was a trap for a while to try and find myself within my page, who I actually wanted to be. So then I would have dessert, me, workout. And I always wanted to post me like dancing. I did one in my pig costume where I'm dancing, where I'll actually show you after. Mm-hmm. And I had the pre-workout, and I thought that was really funny. I'm like, pre-workout, and it's like, what you gonna do with that dessert? Do that, do bad, eat that, like in the pig costume, and I'm just like dancing. And I sent it to them, and they're like, Erin, we just want you squatting. Like, it's not
just
hard.
Booty pictures.
No pig.
Yeah.
So then you kind of get into that.
Because it really is hilariously exactly the opposite thing that they want. Because a pig is like the exact thing
opposite
that they want. Yeah.
It's not booty.
That is so hilarious.
Yeah. So fell into that trap for a bit. Mm-hmm. And then eventually it didn't give me much, right?
Yeah.
Didn't give
but you had followers.
But I had followers, So I would meet people, and then some of my friends would be like, oh my gosh, she's Instagram famous. And people are like, oh my God, that's so cool. And I'd be like, yeah, it's great. Mm-hmm. Mega imposter syndrome.
Ooh,
mega just.
Now it came back again another way.
Oh yeah. Mega imposter syndrome from getting stuff from companies and being like, wow, like stressed, like how am I going to make this work? How am I going to prove to them that I'm worthy of representing their brand? And then now this imposter syndrome just continues, and the lack continues until eventually I get to the point where I have 10,000 followers on Instagram. I'm working at a job that I love. I have great people around me. I have the body of my dreams, and I'm still in lack. Mm-hmm. And what the fuck? Like what? You kind of, and then you get frustrated and you're like, I did everything. Like I'm doing little meditations. I ate the celery.
Oh God.
Banded bananas.
Oh God.
I did it all. I did it, and you're so frustrated. I remember looking in the mirror and being like, why? And I was so angry. And I was like, why am I having a panic attack? Like I would be working and I would stop breathing. So again, that's mm-hmm. what I learned back in my first story. Yep. So then I'd get into this point, and even then I was still like, this can't be anxiety. There's something wrong. There's something wrong with me. My fingers would get purple and I would get like crinkly. Ooh. Yeah, and then I was at work and I was like, I don't know what's happening. And thankfully, like best boss in the world was like, my dear, you're just having a panic attack. Like, it's okay. And then when you're in it, you're like, no, like I'm dying. Like, this is it. This is the end. And then the cleaning lady's like, she's dying. Call an ambulance. And I'm just like trying to breathe. I'm in the bathroom, literally fainting. Like I'm losing consciousness because I'm just such in a state of stress and fight or flight. My cortisol is like, woo, party, So then, thankfully enough, they were like, let's bring you upstairs to a room, because I worked in a hotel, right? So they're like, oh, let's put you in the room. Let's bring you some tea. Like, they were so kind and so compassionate. And then the boss was like, let's play tic-tac-toe, And that's when I started to understand anxiety, because he had moved through it and he started to explain to me what it was, instead of just the doctor being like, anxiety, here's some pills that you can take, like you're fucked up, Mm-hmm. So now I actually started to get a different point of view on it. And I started to get a little bit more inspired at that point. And yeah, I'm like, what point of the story do you want to say?
I think the ultimate question is, did the tic-tac-toe work?
It really worked. It really, really worked.
So when do you still feel like you have anxiety?
Do I still play tic-tac-toe?
And do you still play? Like, what do you do when you have anxiety now?
So now it's so different, because I don't call it anxiety anymore. I just call it resistance. So yes.
See there, ladies and gentlemen. There. See here. That was what we call a reframe. See this frame and then that frame. Reframe. That was a reframe.
Yes.
Well done. Okay. All right. So you're using some NLP techniques or whatever. Yeah. You're reframing stuff in your mind. Great.
Yeah. So it's resistance, and it's so simple. It's just when there is a true me, mm-hmm. who is, in my wholeness and is the light. Mm-hmm. And then there's actions and behaviors and thoughts that are not me. And when I'm in that goblin, we'll call it the resistance goblin.
Ooh, I like that.
That's when I start to feel disconnected. Mm. So it's just not in alignment. It's just a different vibration. It's just that we've set ourselves in a different wavelength. And it's so like, I wish somebody would have told me this when I was 15. I wish that somebody would have just stopped me and been like, hey, you are not anxiety. You are moving through it. You are just shifting from your true potential. You're just not in alignment with who you actually are. You're not up to date with your worthiness. You're not there yet. So it doesn't mean that you don't have potential. It doesn't mean that you're doomed to a life of anxiety. Opposite, it means that you have so much potential and you're not claiming it. So your body's like, what the fuck are you doing? And then you start to feel anxious. And now the difference is that when that happens, it's not the negative base fuel anymore that's behind that. Because before it'd be, why am I like this? Why am I anxious? I'm doing so much to change here. Nothing's changing. It got to the point where now it's like, okay, I love myself so much and I'm clearly going through something. What's wrong? How are you not in alignment with yourself right now? And what can you do to get there? So instead of looking at myself being like, fat piece of shit, you suck, you know? Now I'm like, oh my God, I love you so much. Like, how can I be there? Like, what's up, girl? Like literally just talking to yourself and acknowledging the vibrations are different. Okay, cool. How? Why? What can you do to change it? I'm going to cry. It was so powerful. It was so powerful. Tic-tac-toe worked.
No, you use humor as a way of, I'll say something about you if you will allow.
Yes.
You use humor as a way of sometimes hiding the deep work that you've done.
Oh, yes.
And that was really powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah. I just want to see, like, I acknowledge the way that you communicate, the way that you're like now, like really clear about the feeling that you're moving through, the reframe, like you're doing these things that you didn't name. I'm naming them for you in a sense. But the idea of you transitioning through this story and through these identities and through like, because what I see is like you would probably have a lot of anxiety when you were out of alignment as well, right? You can call it resistance. One piece of that is resistance, but you feel resistance when energy's trying to flow through your body. If you want to see it as chakras, let's say behind you, right? The chakras. They're moving through your chakras.
They're all blocked by bacon.
No, at this point it was cottage cheese and muffins.
3 scoops of protein powder. Like
you're backed up with too many bananas.
My farts were so bad. I would go to the shot and literally I'd go to the bathroom and then I fart and like all of the girls in there would start screaming. And like it was so bad, I had to get out. And then my friend comes and sits next to me and she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I farted in there and it's so bad that I had to get out and come out here. And then you see all the girls go, ah, and they all run out of the bathroom scared. It smells so bad.
My God.
Cottage cheese farts. But not only that, protein powder. Like
protein powder, cottage cheese farts mixed with banana.
My friends did not
muffins.
like me.
No.
My friends did not like me anymore.
Yeah.
There's like a procedure,
that's
you know,
why,
like
that's
on the
why you were
dance
famous
floor.
on Instagram, not so much at the Chat.
Yeah, not at the Chat. There was a procedure. My friends were like, okay, Erin, if you fart while you're dancing, you need to go away and count to 5.
Out.
So I'd leave in the corner. I'd be like, 1, 2, you know, guys comes to see you. Like, what are you doing in the corner? I literally counting down the seconds because I farted and I need to go back on the dance floor to see my friends.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that's my personal story.
Oh, thanks for sharing.
I'm not like that anymore. I moved past it. New year, new me.
Let's be clear. You still fart. You're just not horrible.
No more.
Yeah.
Done forever.
We found the woman that doesn't fart. Oh my God.
It's my superpower.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right.
My hair's getting caught in the microphone.
Yeah. All right. All
right. Where were we?
That was a very good tangent.
I love how you said that I mask my my growth with humor, and I'm like, I fart.
Which I was about to say exactly.
It got too deep.
Is that
too deep.
That you well, no, but it's not that you're masking it. It's that it's actually what's interesting about your humor and your character, your positivity, essentially, and this kind of bubbly character that you have is that it's actually incredibly attractive and magnetic from the perspective of like people are at home in a state where they're scrolling and they're like, wow, this person's literally bouncing like because you're shuffling all over the fucking place like no, wow so fun, and you've got this positivity that you're beaming at them when they're probably in a state where they're fucking looking at their phone in the fucking shit position and like horrible posture and all the things, because that's just like that's probably most people's states in that reality.
That hit me in the heart.
And because you no longer want to do the booty picture to some degree, and it's you have like fitness pictures or whatever, which are still attractive from the perspective of like pure sexual, let's say lower chakra kind of whatever. But that's not what you're selling anymore. It is actually now the creativity, the positivity, and the humor the fun, essentially the joy is the way you would term it.
Joy awakening.
Joy, empowerment, those words that are all on your, see, empowerment coach, joy awakener, see, right? These words, brilliance, exactly. But those words are actually what people are receiving now. Right?
And it's what they're feeling too.
It is what they're feeling. I could say that when I watch some of your Instagram stories, there's a sense that you're having a really good time. And part of me wants to join you in that good time.
I want to cry. That's because
you could totally cry if you need to. But it's true. I think that there's a real feeling that we don't see online enough, and the authenticity of that. And then the mix of, and I love that, this is the other thing I think you do really well, you just use terminology that is so, other people call it vulgar. I call it real. Raw isn't maybe the best medium word there. You're just like willing to be like, yeah, sometimes days are shit.
Shit shovel.
Yeah, but that lands.
Rose gold shit shovel.
And it hits you different. Like even when I said it earlier, I used the term you used, which is like, oh, I was a shitty person. And you're like, wow, fucking that hit me. Like I wasn't expecting you to say that.
Yeah.
But you're doing that exact same thing all the time. Like I see, because I'm if there's anything I do well, it's I understand psychology and I understand stories and I understand how that is happening or permeating through social media specifically. And you're like effectively creating, you've got like this magic mix. No protein powder, protein powder optional. It's a really
cottage cheese parts in the
which
mix.
Might be the name of this podcast, protein powder optional. But that's a good name. But
sponsored.
Yeah. But the idea of your mix of content is actually landing in a way because it's bringing an authentic, real, my life isn't perfect, but every once in a while it feels really awesome. And every once in a while I'm really grateful. And every once in a while I kind of feel this resistance. I saw today you're talking about like, it's snowing outside and it's cold and I fucking hate cold, but fuck it, I love cold. And now I'm going to like reframe that. I'm going to change my story around it. I'm going to become the person who loves cold now. I'm going to become the person who embraces the cold. And I'm going to go out there and say bonjour, hi to all the things that I disliked that I'm now finding a way to like.
I like that. We should write that bonjour, hi to all of the new potentials.
Yeah.
There's so many things I want to say to that. First of all, it hits me so emotionally when we talk about stuff like this. And I think it's so interesting that when we were talking about the beginning of the story, there's like this certain, how can I call it? My eyes kind of go like this, you know, like just, they focus. When I get to this point where I feel like passionate and when I feel very direct, and there's some things you were saying before about, you know, the school education and stuff, I felt my eyes get into that focus mode. It's like that, you know? It kind of did the opposite in the beginning when we were talking about the story, because it felt like, you know, I'm living it again. And I was even like, you know, getting a little bit shaky. Like you would start to re-experience that story as you say it. And I noticed that when I started talking about my current self, I got into this place of like, like my voice is more powerful. Like I started talking more directly, and it just proves that the vibration that we set ourselves in, the stories that we tell have such a big effect. It is insane. It
literally impacts every component of the way you told the story. When you told the story, when you got to the point of the empowerment piece, past the booty pictures, past the blah, 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 and then you spoke what I would consider to be from like an inspirational place. It's because you spoke from an empowered place.
With the eyes.
Yeah, well, you did, like, if I pay an enormous amount of attention to body language and all those kinds of things. You started using your hands. You started like going, like you literally mimicked empowerment from the perspective of like, from the perspective of dancing around and moving and smiling, and the way like you smiled significantly more. Your eyes
beginning
lit
strong
up
like
more.
bacon.
Sure, yeah, but that is the transition. Like everything shifts when you shift. Like the second you say I am no longer this person, and I say I am this other person, it was incredibly powerful. And I noticed many times in this podcast, a couple of times, if you were to go back, and anybody who's listening to this, if you were to go back, when every time you say I am, like when you were like claiming identity of sorts, or claiming some level of an identity, without marrying yourself to it, without being boxed in by it, you have like you're really powerful at that. Like you've tapped into some level of like, yeah, no, I'm fucking sure. Yeah. Whatever you want to call it. It's just, but like
limited.
Yeah. But you took on that character and took the best pieces of that and said like, yes, this fits here. And the other parts don't.
I love that. I was listening to something today and it says, there's no space for lack in your future. You know, like, I don't know why, but it hit me so hard. And I was thinking about everything that I want in my future. And I was like, do I really want the lack from my past to be in that? And I see lack as like this like gooey, yucky, like old gum. And then I think like, do I really want to carry that everywhere with me? And I don't know why, but it just hit me. I like stopped and I thought about it and I smiled and I was like, no, I don't want to bring that. And the old me can now just be the old me. It doesn't have to be the new me. And there's something interesting that you said before, that when people are scrolling on Instagram and they see that energy, and it was interesting to move through a phase where I would kind of just talk about joy and I would talk about empowerment and I would talk about these things.
Yeah.
But the moment that I became it, like you can probably notice a huge shift in my page when I'm like, you know, imposter syndrome, like become your best self, 5 workouts to do this for a flat tummy, you know, like there's such a transition. Yeah. Yeah.
It's literally felt.
Yeah. It's how can I say this? Shine.
Yeah.
It shines. And
it's like literally a force. I use the word attractive or magnetic, but that's the feeling that it feels like on the other end of it.
Oh, I love that. Cause now you're like,
it is that feeling. It like, it feels that way.
I feel it.
Right. No, but well, the question I have for you is, now that you're here, well, one of the things you want to do, one of the questions you had for me at one point was, you're starting a podcast. Well, you started a podcast.
Yes.
You're learning the art of podcasting.
The art.
It is an art.
The subtle art. Yeah. I didn't know it was an art until I started doing
realizing it's an art.
Yeah.
So you've got a podcast. You're coming out fit within podcast. I like it. I like you've got like a nice style to your photography and your brand.
Shine bright like a diamond. That's what I'm going for.
Well, you're doing well.
Like a diamond. Had to.
No, I mean, what's next for Erin? Where's the future? Like, what are you moving through
where
now?
my focus eyes come in.
Where's your resistance?
Resistance
you're moving through and finding a way to shine through.
Cut.
Yeah.
I'm on a mission. I am. I am on a mission to wake the fuck out of people. How can I say that more properly? Wake up people. Wake the fuck up to shake people. I'm on a mission to awaken. That's how we can say it. I'm on a mission to awaken people's souls. And I don't want to just say awaken people's minds, right? Because no, you got to feel it. Like on the Instagram, right? When you start exposing it and you start becoming it, then people start to feel it. I can wake up every morning and say I'm powerful and I'm healthy. But until I can wake up and say I am health, no matter what, no matter if I go to the gym or not, whether I eat my fucking protein pancakes, whether I wake up in the middle of the night to bring a protein
whether you say it or not, everything about you is saying it.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Exactly. You don't even have to say it anymore.
Exactly.
You just are.
You just are
it. So my goal is to be able to help people get from where I was at, which was complete lack and resistance and anxiety, in the fancy terms, to a space of feeling fulfilled. And now I'm at a point in my life where I finally feel joyful. And it's so interesting that when you finally get to that point, you're like, wow, it wasn't the Instagram. It wasn't the followers. It wasn't the moment that I released the expectations and the outcomes of my Instagram is when it started to grow more. And I was continuously growing from like a couple hundred followers, no DM groups, no bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, just doing what you want. I'm not doing this for anybody else. I'm posting this for myself. I'm posting this from me wanting to spread joy and to actually serve people, because how was that serving anybody before? And it's so interesting when you finally get into your purpose. And I look back now and I'm like, I've always wanted to serve people. I would go out of my way to be a sunshine, even when I was at my most anxious. Even when I felt the shittiest and I wanted to cry, I would still make a point to shine my light on people. And I thought that was the worst thing. You know, I'd come home and be like, oh, I spent too much energy on people. Like, who am I? Imposter syndrome. But now I look back on it and I'm like, wow, I was going through such a shitty time, yet I was still there. I was still shining So I'm like, how much can I fucking shine now that I'm actually shining within? So my goal is to shine this on people and to help them realize that they can become the best version of themselves, and that they don't have to be in that little box. That they can get out of it.
You are not overweight. You are not anxious. You are not this. You are not that.
You are whoever the fuck you want to be.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah. And whether you believe it or not, like that's the reality of it. And then I was thinking, like I posted a story the other day. I think it was a before and after. And then I was like, I always get super inspirational in my captions. I spend like 3 hours, no joke.
I spend all the time in the world in the captions.
It's so important. And the thing is that there's not enough space. So
I know,
half of the time is spent trying to cut back. And
this is why you need a podcast.
yeah, just chat shit for hours.
What I'm doing.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I love it.
Yeah.
I wrote something and it was very powerful, but I forgot it. Wait, what were you talking about?
We were talking about the captions of one of your posts where it was like a before and after.
Yeah, it was a before and after, and a part of that caption was, what were we talking about before that? This is projector brain at its finest. I'm like, oh my god.
I mean, where you're going. We were talking about where you're going.
Serving joy to people.
Yeah.
Being of service.
And that
joy, awakening, resistance.
No, what you were talking about was you were shining on people even when you were actually in such a horrible state. That's what we were talking about right before this.
Yes.
Either way.
Shine bright like a diamond. Either way, I don't remember.
Doesn't matter.
We'll go look at the caption after. I post a bunch of inspirational shit. But yeah, the goal here is really to just help people feel like they can be something different. And I just remembered what I wanted to say. So that's wonderful. We have a Fitspo, right? Like everybody has their own Fitspo, and we have people that we look up to. And then it's kind of like, well, this person has the same energy life force that I have. They're equipped with the same body, maybe not like at this point, at this moment in time, but we have the same functions.
We have the potential.
Yeah. So why is that person living a completely different reality than I am? And it's just the truths that we set. And then I was going to bed, and I always have like all these downloads before I go to bed, and I'm like, I have to write them down. And I was like, whether somebody thinks that they're an anxious person or not, it's true.
Yep.
Whether somebody thinks they're the strongest person or not, it's true. Whatever you say is your truth. That's your fucking truth. I can right now say I'm a shoe. And then everyone's like, you're not a shoe. But if I think I'm a shoe, I could literally spend the rest of my life in the corner to be like,
I'm a shoe.
I'm a shoe. And it's like, who cares? Who cares what anybody else thinks, as long as I'm in my truth and I'm happy with it. And how much time do we have left?
There's no rules.
Oh my God, what? Okay, we're going to be here until tomorrow morning. There's...
How long have we
Yeah,
been going?
seriously.
I actually don't even know.
90 minutes.
Okay, that's not bad.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you about my flower analogy that I came up with this morning in my meditation.
Go for it.
And it reminded me when you talked about I really want to remember it, negative fueled energy.
You're close.
Negative fuel
source.
Negative fuel source. Yes, love that.
Source.
So I was seeing it as planting seeds, right? Of consciousness. And then the way that we would plant the seeds is every thought is a seed, and then there's like millions of thoughts around us. And it's like, well, how do we choose which one? They're all passing through. So when we have an emotional charge, then we go and we grab that thought. Now there's like a meaning to it, right? So emotion, energy, and motion. Now we have taken that seed and we have planted it in our garden, whether we wanted to or not. Whether it's something that I really wanted or whether it's something that I really don't want, the fact that I'm giving it that emotional charge, I'm planting it in my garden. Farmville shit. And so...
I talk about this all the time.
Yay, okay, perfect.
Yep.
How we grow that seed, that's where why I keep forgetting, the source.
Negative
fuel source. The source is how we feed the seeds, and that's what feeds the growth. And I read something the other day too about trees, and it was saying that they put a bunch of trees in like this dome, and they realized that the trees weren't growing inside the dome, and they're like, what the fuck? Like we're doing everything perfectly because there was no wind, there was no challenges, so the trees weren't growing. So it's like, cool, if you want your plant to grow, you have to
face adversity
and go and experience it.
It needs to literally go and search for the water further in the ground for it to become a taller and bigger tree.
To root down.
It needs to root.
To rise up.
All the things. It needs to rise. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. And I was just thinking about this, and I was like, cool, well, the flower that I want to bloom You know, if we do it from that negative fueled source energy.
Ooh, you got it there.
Then the flower is like this pretty shitty flower, right? It's just like me. The flower is not happy.
It just might be more thorny. It's
very
more
thorny, more prickly.
Yeah,
like me.
And it could have
Closed
beauty.
off.
There's beauty to it.
Yeah,
but it might be categorized as a weed,
exactly.
which is funny.
Yeah,
It's funny that certain things are weeds and others aren't. But either way,
and then it's prickly. I like how you said it's prickly because then it's more closed off to
yep.
outer sources. But then the flower that's bloomed with joy and love and compassion is like open. I think that's super cool, and I think that's interesting that you had that analogy too. Is it like
As an analogy I use all the time because I'm number one, I'm a farmer.
Yeah, there we go.
I identify as a farmer. And it's because I think we all are. This is the first thing I'll say. I think
Amen.
we're all farming something. We're all cultivating something in our life. So it's whatever you're putting time and attention to is what you're growing in your life.
Cultivating.
I just would rather put time and attention to growing actual trees and actual flowers and actual things because I learn from them. And I see repeated beauty and growth in it that is a reflection of the growth and repeated beauty in me, but also in the community around me.
I am the flower. I love that.
Quite literally.
I love that.
I'm the ecosystem. That's the way I see it. Like, if I really think about what I actually do, what I really do in every capacity as a storyteller, as a philanthropreneur, and as a farmer, is I build ecosystems. And by building ecosystems, what I mean by that is I pay attention to ecosystems, and then every once in a while I throw in an ingredient to help balance it or to send it in one particular direction or another particular direction, because at the end of the day, a small little adjustment to what's in the soil will change everything about what grows above the soil. And so and that kind of is a frame of reference for, like, you know, if you're doing the inner work, what you'll see in the outer will also shift and change. So yeah, I use analogies essentially regularly around, I use analogies regularly about what's going on in farming, because I see the weeds that we are allowing I see the cancer that we're allowing in our bodies. I see the cancer we're allowing in our lives. I see the cancer that we're allowing literally growing on some of the food, in the methods that we grow some of the food, and the animals and other things. I see deep challenges in those states of production, because that's what they're doing, versus what I would say we're doing is we're building ecosystems. And our farm grows food, but more than that, it grows community. More than that, it grows trust. More than that, it grows knowledge. More than that, it reminds us to stop and think and observe. And so we use farming techniques that essentially do that mimic nature. And so some people call that permaculture. Some people call that regenerative agriculture. We're doing both of those. We're also doing market gardening. We're mixing it all, because that's what an ecosystem does. And it's not all perfect. It's not all pretty. There are thorns. There are weeds. There are problems.
Contrast.
Yeah, but there are also, but those problems in a sense create solutions. And, you know, I don't know, there's this really amazing Netflix documentary called Biggest Little Farm. I don't know if you've watched it.
Never seen it.
You absolutely need to watch that.
Watch it.
You definitely need to watch it. It's just talking about that transition. The transition from like this monoculture, trying to be something, trying to just be productive and like achieve something, which is very similar to the state exactly.
That was like the perfect analogy.
The grab, right? Take,
grab,
want, need, goblin, right? You used the word goblin earlier.
Goblin.
That feeling of mine, take it, you know, versus a feeling of like, give it, like, look at nature. Nature is constantly giving, everything about it is in balance. And it's why we got to here. It happened that way. And one beautiful way of thinking about it is that everything has happened, including plastic, including pollution, including all the problems that we have in the world, quote unquote, are also natural. They all came from the natural progression of where we are. And so that existential angst that I felt, I still feel from time to time when I'm anxious, that feeling I get to move away from, not by avoiding it, not by ignoring it, not by saying it's not true, not by clouding it in abundance and everything's great. But by just being like, hey, thank you for serving the ecosystem. Thank you for allowing yourself or revealing yourself in some way, shape, or form as my villain or a villain of sorts. And I don't have to be the hero that martyrs to save the world against this villain, but I also get to act from my own truth, from my own place. I get to play the role that I get to play in the ecosystem. And that's perfect. And that is what I've learned about farming. That's what I've learned about entrepreneurship. It's what I've learned about life. It's what I've learned about education. It's what I've learned about self-improvement. And, but I didn't feel that way for a long time. And it's because I wasn't moving from unconditional love. I was moving from this negative fuel source rather than this positive fuel source, which is I was building community out of a way of building self-preservation rather than building community out of scaling intimacy. I was building a farm out of self-preservation or lack rather than, wow, I can plant this little seed and it will grow into something way bigger than I will ever feel. And I always had this, I think the one thing that I was lucky with, and I say lucky was because I didn't fully grasp it until over time I started to recognize it in everything I was doing, is that I've always been a long-term decision maker, long-term thinker. And so if I can attribute anything that I do well, it's that I plan and schedule on a day-to-day micro level, meaning like in my present, I'm constantly calibrating, recalibrating, and planning my near present and my soon to be present, right? And I'm just using that properly with the lens or the filter of what's the best for the long-term ecosystem from my perspective. And that's where I act from. And in that, I've found an enormous amount of empowerment, and I've been able to build things that are significantly bigger than me. And I've learned how to communicate it in a different way, right? Like even just how I lowered my voice and tone and I started speaking slower because I understand the sacredness of what I'm experiencing. And I understand that in certain moments, comedy's good. In certain moments, certain things are good. But in certain moments, we should sit and really feel it and let it land. And I wasn't acting from those places, but now I am. And I hope that I continue to act from those places. I'm certain there will be tangents and periods of time where things might throw me off or heartbreak might just send me in the wrong direction. Relationships or whatever thing, and I'm not just talking romantic, but just any relationship could send you in that wrong direction or different people enter your life or different things. But for me, lately, they've sent me in the right direction. And my version of the right direction. And so, yeah, just live in that. And that's, my future, I guess.
I think that's so beautiful because what you said about the negative fuel source. A lot of people might relate to that, but it's related on lack too. I feel like there's not much impact there. It's kind of just a bunch of people just all in that circle in a cycle, just kind of going round and round and round. But then when you step out and you're in your inspiration, you can tell this is your inspiration.
But they're trying to find it and they're trying to shock their body into it all the time. And I get it. Like, I understand, like, so many people are doing like the cold shower or the cold plunge or whatever, right? Like, and what they're trying to do is shock themselves into inspiration. Like, they're like trying to fucking like
do it,
land it,
just do it.
It's like, and then they're trying to get uncomfortable and they're doing all the things that people are saying they need to do. Yeah. And in and of itself, that's the fucking problem. Yeah. Because you're not becoming it. Well, no, you're listening to anybody else. Yeah. Period. Like, the answer is within you. And yes, you can find inspiration from the podcast, and I'm glad that you do. If you're listening to this, you're clearly inspired by it. But what's right for me is not right for you. I'm not the same person, or I don't play the same role in the ecosystem that maybe you do. Some people maybe have a very similar role to me and they're listening to this, but most people don't. They're if I'm a fruit tree, maybe they're a tomato plant, and that's just different. And they have different uses and they have different beauties and they just create differently. And so I think most of life, and I know most of life is about finding your journey back to yourself, finding a way to love yourself so that you can love others.
I love that. Find what type of plant you are.
and then blossom the way you
No,
want to
not
blossom.
other people's plants, but your plant.
Exactly.
I
Be
like
the plant
that.
you want to
Very,
be.
very farmer of you.
Thank you. With that said, there is no rules, but I think we covered some bases.
Yeah.
Where do people find you? What
Find
do you
me?
find all your stuff? Right?
Killing it fitness.
Whoa, she's
Hashtag
on
not
Instagram.
sponsored.
She's on Instagram. She's on
on
Spotify.
Instagram.
She's on
Boom,
all
boom,
the places.
boom, boom,
She's
boom,
no
boom,
longer putting optional. The words are not coming to my face. You know where the links are, ladies and gentlemen. If you got to this point in the podcast, hit that like button, hit that notification bell, hit the things that make us know that this landed for you.
Landed.
Landed
That's my hand. Landed.
And we're out.
Bye.
See you in the next episode.